is one, and then the certificates and perjury story is a different one, which came out this week. Now, that story is based on the deposition, the INEC EC9 deposition, declaration that Bola Tinubu submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Bear in mind that this is a sworn statement. It's an affidavit. So basically, if you lie on this statement, you are committing perjury, which is a criminal offense. Now, on this statement, the date of birth that he gave, the university degree certificate that he submitted, the nationality or the lack of nationality that he claimed, all these have been proven to be false. How have they proven to be false? So a lawyer who is currently in court with Tinubu, he filed a criminal complaint against Tinubu by the name of Mike Enahoro Eba. If you remember at the outset when I said that INEC didn't want to release Tinubu's EC9 form, and this lawyer went to court with INEC, and INEC was then compelled to release this form. After getting hold of this form and seeing what was written on it, this lawyer then contacted his colleagues in Chicago, a law firm called Leahy, Eisenberg, and Franco, and briefed them, retained them to basically do an investigation on these records as stated on the form. So this law firm sent out subpoenas to Deloitte LLP, which is a consulting company that Tinubu claims to have worked for, sent out a subpoena to Chicago State University, which Tinubu claims to have graduated from, and to Richard Daley College, also in Chicago, where Tinubu claims to have gone. And I think also to Anderson Tax, because Tinubu has also claimed to have worked at Arthur Anderson previously, before it went defunct. And for the benefit of those viewing who don't know what a subpoena is basically it's a court document. It's a legal document which is issued under the authority of a court, and it compels the recipient of this document to release all information regarding to whatever topic or individual or subject is written on the subpoena. So the subpoena that went to Deloitte, the subpoena went out on September 16th. The response came back September 22, and the response simply said, "We don't know this guy. We don't have any records for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No employment records for him. He has never worked for us." The subpoena that went to Anderson Tax, we didn't get a response, at least not yet. The subpoena that went to Chicago State University, we got a voluminous response. Basically, all their records, everything that had to do with the person they had on file called Bola A. Tinubu. And this was where it got very interesting, because there is prima facie evidence from the records that they submitted showing that the person they admitted called Bola A. Tinubu is not the person that we know of today as Bola Ahmed Tinubu. First of all,
people have names, similar names, probably.
Yes, in fact, apart from
No, I'm just trying to talk to David. What about that? Maybe somebody has the same name.
We have to get through the case details. So, on the admissions documents, the transcript results from Richard J. Daley College, which was then known as Southwest College. The person known as Bola A. Tinubu, who applied for admission to Chicago State University, was female. It's written very clearly there, sex F. So that's one thing. Secondly, the date of birth of this person was 1952. Tinubu's stated date of birth, according to the INEC EC9 form, was 1954. So different dates of birth, different genders, and then possibly the biggest smoking gun of all, the actual degree certificates which Tinubu submitted to INEC versus the degree certificates which Chicago State University sent in response to the subpoena are two completely different documents. So the degree certificate subpoena from Chicago, bear in mind that this is a certificate which is a direct and exact reproduction of the original degree certificate that was issued to Bola A. Tinubu, right? It's an exact reprint of the certificate that was initially issued. So any certificate purporting to be that certificate should look the exact same as that certificate. But what do we see? The certificate, yeah. So the certificate submitted to INEC, first of all, the logo of the university on that certificate is different to that which Chicago State University sent in response to the subpoena. Different logos. The signatures are different. They're by different people. there are different fields on the form. There are different data points on the form. The font on the form, two completely different font systems. The wording of the degree certificates are different. On the supposed degree certificate submitted to InEC, there are two grammatical errors. And then
so what is InEC saying about this? What is InEC saying about this?
Hang on. Just hang on. I haven't finished. And then the dates on both certificates are different. So on the one on the one from Chicago State University, it says that this degree is awarded on the 27th of June 1979. On the one sent to InEC, it says this degree is awarded on the 22nd of June 1979. So clearly, the one submitted to InEC is a forgery. It's not the certificate that was awarded to Bola A. Tinubu. Now, what makes it worse when you drill down further? I don't know how long you spent reading the story. When you do a little, just a very small online search, like you literally just search fake Chicago State University certificate on Google. Very basic. This is not an investigation. 1 inch deep kind of research. You come across a repository on a website called Pinterest. I'm sure you know what Pinterest is. And you find a picture repository belonging to a platform called diplomamakers.com. And in that repository, you see a template fake certificate for Chicago State University that is an exact replica of that which Tinubu submitted to InEC. The same font, the same grammatical errors in the wording, the same layout, same everything. It's just instead of insert name here, which you will see on the template, you will see Bola A. Tinubu on the one submitted to InEC. And that. So clearly, Bola Tinubu or somebody working for Bola Tinubu went and used a service called diplomamakers.com, which makes fake degree certificates, printed out a fake degree certificate purporting to be from Chicago State University for reasons best known to him, and sent this into InEC. Now you asked, what is InEC doing about this? Okay, first of all, it's in court because obviously criminal activity has taken place. Perjury, forgery, these are crimes in Nigeria. So there's that. Secondly, InEC on its own does not have power to do anything. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Now, under the electoral law, the only people who can go to court to try to get Tinubu disqualified as it stands now are fellow contestants. So either a contestant from another party or somebody who contested the APC presidential primaries with him. So a random.
Well, Nigerians, greetings to you all. This is the Comrade Show, and my name is Comrade Lamtek Mawosa Oriahi. If you're already there with us, stay with us, don't go away. We are looking today at the mandates, and let's not forget, this is the Comrade Show and the Comrade and Friends. My name is Comrade Lamtek Mawosa Oriahi, and of course I have in the house a musketeer of the Comrade Show. Of course, you already know him. He's a household name. His name is Obedient Pharmacist Austin Iremira. Pharmacist, you're welcome to the program, my brother.
Thank you so much, Comrade Lamtek Mawosa Oriahi. Today, the 26th of March, 2023. I want to greet all our lovely viewers out there, fans of the Comrade Show. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, my people. Don't go away. Don't touch that dial. All you need to do is just share. It's going to be very explosive. We're going to try to make sense of the mandate. Today, we are looking at Peter Obi's presidential mandate. Don't go away. The evidence are overwhelming. We're going to look at the prayers of Peter Obi and, of course, what is praying the court to do in this petition. Of course, there's been so much talking points looking at the prayers of Peter Obi and looking at the petition to the court and all of that, and the process leading to the reclaiming of the mandate. There's hope. Nigerians are believing that this would set a proper, template for the Nigerian system. Don't go away. Stay with us. It is the Comrade Show.
Comrade Show. Wait. Comrade Lamtek Oriahi. This is the Comrade Show.
Yes, my people, we are going to start with Obi's petition to the court, trying to reclaim his mandate. Obi, prayed the court on 5 counts, okay, to declare him president of Nigeria to, reclaim his mandate. And we're going to look at these 5 counts, one after the other. And Obedient from Assist Austin Remera is going to help us make sense of some of these things, because somehow some people have called me, they are like confused. If this is this, why should this be this? Why should that be that? Pharmacists, from your end, do you think Nigerians have reasons to believe, particularly having watched this video and the analysis, being put out there by, this young man, establishing a very strong case of perjury, if what he's saying is true, if what he's saying is part of what, the evidence Obi's team will be submitted to the court, do you think Nigerians have reason to be hopeful?
Thank you so much, Komilante Bonsarakian, for choosing this topic. Like you said, many Nigerians and indeed many obedient and many Labour Party people are now beginning to be forlorn, and some were slightly concerned about the prayers of Peter Gregory Obi and the Labour Party to the tribunal. But I just want to say special apologies to Nigerians, to all obedient and Labour Party movement. We never thought we'd be here. The election was meant to be won outright. Yeah. But like you always say, Nigerian magic happened and we're where we are. So we just have only one more hope or one more task ahead, which is what the tribunal would say. So to your question, Komilante Bonsaraki, I think there's a ray of hope. Like it is said, where there is life, there is hope. There is evidence to prove the case of the Labour Party. But whether that evidence will be considered very strongly and seen clearly by many simple Nigerians, by the eyes of our lordship, will be another issue to reckon with. But if past incidents is to judge based on antecedents, we have a cause to be worried. But I think Nigeria of yesterday is different from Nigeria of today. I have firm hope that the evidence will be overwhelming before our lordship, and then we have no cause but to rule in a very fairly, rightful, and very brave manner. So to that extent, I am very hopeful, and I employ many Nigerians to be. Above all, I see divinity and the hands of God. If Nigerians came out in their numbers to cast their vote, I don't think any hand of human would turn it the other way. So I see hope. I see a better Nigeria.
Looking at hope, let's look at, well, people have talked about, Obi's petition, the prayers and every other thing, but people probably do not have a holistic view of what the prayers are. Want to look at them one after the other. This is the first prayer, and here Obi is praying the court. It said, first, 1.1, it said that it be determined at the time of the presidential election held on the 25th of February, 2023, the second and the third respondents were not qualified to contest the election. I believe the second and the third respondents here are Bola Ahmed Tinubu and, of course,
Kashim Shettima.
Okay.
Yes, the first respondent is InEC.
Now, do you think, I don't know the basis upon which they've made that prayer. I don't know the evidence they have to establish that, Tinubu wasn't qualified and Shettima wasn't qualified. And that's why this video we played just now probably comes to mind. Because if what this young man was establishing here with the case of, certificate forgery from Chicago University and all of those issues, even the drug-related issues, act of treason committed in the US and every other thing, if they can subpoena the right, offices to get evidence out of those places, and those are found to be true, of course, treason anywhere is treason everywhere, then that may be a case. But other than that, what else do you think, particularly looking at this particular prayer?
Yeah, I think in the course of today's program, as we've said, we're going to look at the 5 prayers of Peter Obi and the Labour Party against the president-elect and indeed the APC. I would want to say that the entire 5 prayers, in my view, I'm not a lawyer anyway, And we know that this issue is sub judice at the moment, but we still have to make comment because it is indeed very important. It's topical and it's very germane to where Nigeria will be going forward. I think Peter Obi and his team were very wise in crafting those prayers. I will categorize them into three major areas.
Okay, before you go on, let's just take overview of all the prayers. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Now the first one, 1.1 says that Bola Tinubu and his running mates, or rather his running mate should be disqualified. That's the first prayer. Well, still as part of 1.2 and 1.3, it went for that to say that it be determined that all the votes recorded for the second respondent, that is Bola Tinubu, in the election are wasted votes owing to the non-qualification and disqualification of the second and third respondents.
Yeah.
So it's tied down to the first one. And the third point on the first prayer says that it be determined that on the basis of the remaining votes, after discountenancing the votes credited to the second respondent, that the first petitioner, which is Peter Obi, scored a majority of the lawful votes cast at the election and had not less than 25% of the votes in each of at least 2/3 of the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and satisfied the constitutional requirement to be declared winner of the 25th February 2023 presidential election. That is one altogether one. Then the second prayer says that it be determined that the second respondent here is Bola Tinubu, having failed to score 1/4 of the vote cast at the presidential election in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, was not entitled to be declared and returned as the winner of the presidential election held on 25th of February 2023. 3, that an order cancelling the election and compelling the first respondent, that is InEC, to conduct a fresh election at which the second and the third and fourth respondents shall not participate, which means in this election that is Supreme Court to ask InEC to reconduct, that Bola Tinubu, his running mates, and I think the fourth respondent chair should be Atiku Abubakar, should not participate.
Yeah.
Then number 4, that it may be determined that the second respondent was not duly elected by a majority of the lawful vote cast in the election for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, held on the 25th February 2023. And therefore, the declaration and return of the second respondent as the winner of the presidential election are unlawful, unconstitutional, and of no effect whatsoever. Then, along with that fourth prayer, he went ahead to say that it be determined that based on the valid vote cast in the presidential election of 25th February 2023, that the first petitioner, who is Peter Obi, scored the highest number of votes cast in the election and not less than 1/4 of the vote cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and ought to be declared and returned as the winner of the presidential election. Point 3, an order directing the first respondent to issue, that's InEC, to issue the certificate of return to the first petitioner, that's Peter Obi, as the duly elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 4th, attached to the number 4 prayer, that it be determined that the certificate of return wrongfully issued to the second respondent, that is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by the first respondent, that is InEC, is null and void and set aside. Then the 5th prayer, he went on to say that the presidential election conducted on the 25th of February 2023 is void on the ground that the election was not conducted substantially in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. 2, and order cancelling the presidential election conducted on 25th of February 2023 and mandating the first respondent, InEC, to conduct the fresh election for the office of the president, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, signed and dated on the 20th day of March 2023. Pharmacists. Are these prayers not confusing? One, on the ground that Peter Obi is saying that Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not qualify to contest for the election. And he has gone ahead to say that that Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not win, did not get 1/4 of the vote cast in Abuja. And he has equally gone ahead in the fifth prayer to say that the election did not align with the provisions of the Electoral Act, substantially, and therefore should be cancelled and reconducted. Are these not confusing? Can you help us make some sense out of it all?
Thank you so much, Comrade Lamte. Like I said, I am not a lawyer, but I have a bit of common sense and a bit of law, so I'll be able to share that. I don't think it's confusing. I want to congratulate the legal team of Peter Obi and Dati and the labor movement. I think their prayers is watertight, is something that has left the APC and the president-elect in a very difficult situation. And you would observe that since this whole issue started, they haven't actually responded very well, even in public domain. Perhaps, maybe the lawyers are working very seriously because they need to have their own papers to respond. And that will form the argument that will happen in court. And I think Obi and his team appear to be veteran in this area. And they've really made their prayers in a very, very difficult way. Because like the vice presidential candidate of Labour Party said, they hit them in the area where they never expected. I think, in my view, I would categorize these prayers into three categories. And I think the lawyers and those behind the scene have actually looked at it very well. And the way they've crafted it, it gives the Labour Party and Obi a very good position. However, in law, everything is always based on evidence. But I think there are three things there. That prayer categorizes three things which are very important. One, it talks about the candidacy of the APC presidential and vice presidential candidate. That's the first question. The second question is on the election itself. And on that election itself, it looks at three things. One, it looks at disqualification or annulment of the result, InEC irregularity by not following their own set down guidelines, and the issue of FCT. That covers that. Then where those prayers are not answered, he is saying that the last one should be an outright cancellation of the elections in total, where Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a candidate of the APC, and Atiku Abubakar, a candidate of the PDP, will not be in the ballot for that election if we go there. So if you looked at it, it is crafted in a very nice way, one after the other. So I want to say to many Nigerians and obedient who are confused, please don't be confused. I think everything that is crying for is well arranged in those prayers. So let's look at the first one. He is saying that the candidacy of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima are not supposed to be candidate for the election. So, for our people generally, if the court go to answer this prayer based on evidence, they find that there is no candidacy, we'll say case has closed because the person that won was not even meant to run for the office. So I think that's a very wise one. And the good thing in that issue is that Obi is not even asking, like the video you played before, center more on qualification of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In my view, that is not strong. Hence, the Obi movement did not go for that. Because the Nigerian election simply says, even a primary six holder or an attended secondary school can be our president. So that's not very weighty. But I believe in the course of dragging that issue to look at the drug issue, we may then have to look at qualification. But that's not strong. What is strong there is the issue of the drug, because he was alleged to have committed a treason.
No, there's an act of perjury. Perjury is a very serious matter.
Yeah, I know.
Because the information out there equally states that what's his name? The results Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted when he was running as governor of Lagos State to this same InEC is different from the one he now submitted when he was running for president in the EC file.
I agree with you. Probably in the probing of the drug issue, we may then be able to go there. But I am saying that on the balance of evidence, that is not strong enough. What is strong enough that is making that first prayer to be very reasonable is the issue of the drug, that he has been convicted. And why people are having hope, and I think what the legal team would have aimed for, is that hopefully a non-Nigeria institution will be subpoenaed and they may come to testify. And that is the United States of America. Because up until now, we don't really know the true case. Remember when Keyamo first spoke about it and the investigation done by Reno Omokri, they were outside because they didn't have the legal powers to do the proper investigation. But now, once this presidential tribunal starts sitting, and that is granted, the American authority can then be contacted, and we are going to get the true picture of that drug issue, because we really don't have it. All they've been banding is that he paid because yes, he paid for it. Yes, granted, you can pay, but you must have been convicted first before you are allowed to pay. So I think that first prayer is very watertight. And if Labour Party, Obi movement, and the legal team can get that right, then there might be, we can say, like we say in the local parlance, case closed. I think that's a very brilliant one by the legal team on that issue. So on that candidacy, I'm very happy the way they took it. I don't think they are worried so much about certificate and forgery and all. Maybe that will come later. But the big issue is the conviction of drug in the United States.
Okay. Now let's assume that, because I'm already reading in the papers that the issue of Shettima not being qualified may have been struck out by the courts. Let's assume that Bola Ahmed Tinubu's case through the issue of qualification. Obi has prayed in the second or third prayer, asking the court, upon disqualification of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that the vote should be recounted, and that the lawful votes, that he's got majority of the votes. Do you see that as a possibility? Particularly when he came third, according to the results, pronounced by InEC.
Absolutely, Comrade. That is why I am very, very enthused with the wisdom and knowledge of the obedient legal team. Comrade, they've thought about this very well. So, for example, let's take a case in point that Tinubu himself is found to be disqualified as a candidate, which means, like somebody has said, the Shettima case has been thrown out. I believe they know. Maybe they have other evidences that we don't have that they will put to the court, even if they've made a judgment before. So their plan is, just imagine, say they have a strong case and the candidacy of Tinubu is disqualified, for example. It doesn't mean that Shettima will be disqualified. So Shettima immediately will resume that position of Tinubu. So the second prayer will not question more on the election, because they have evidence on that one as well. So even if the first prayer,
let's get something clear. If Tinubu is disqualified on the ground that he was not qualified for the election,
yes,
that ticket is gone.
Yes, so
the ticket is gone.
Yeah. So, but even if the team is able to make that evidence to say that yes, Tinubu is gone, but Shettima is supposed to have been qualified. It wasn't. Say, for example, if that goes through, we then come to the second prayer. But like you said, because it's a joint team, a joint ticket, anything that affects Bola Ahmed Tinubu, remember the case of Bayelsa, would also affect Shettima. So I think that case is very strong. That case is strong because there's an international flavor to it. We are happy that United States will not compromise. And we have on good authority that United States is still yet to officially recognize and congratulate the president-elect. I must come back to say that I think the Labour Party legal team have really put in a very... Because when I first saw this, I was worried. And when I took a closer look reading it, I saw the wisdom in their choice. So I think it's very important. Candidacy first, let's deal with that. Go to the elections. If the elections are, then you go to cancellation. So I'm very pleased.
Now, because now even the issue of the result matter, okay, it's it's a serious. But let's take a listen to the mockery made of, you know, the entire legal framework of Nigeria by what's his name? This man.
Olisa Bakuba SAN.
No, not but what's his name? The spokesperson for Bola Tinubu. I'm just trying to remember his name. No. Let me just play his video. I remember his name. Just
that's your first
the
certificates that he dropped and right now, and the forms that he did submit right now to run for president. The certificates, there's discrepancy.
No, Abia State University.
That wasn't submitted in 1999.
Which one did he submit?
Where's the primary?
I just explained that to you now.
That he didn't go to a primary school. Is that what you're saying?
In those days, you don't have to go. You don't have to. They read and pass GC from home. Great men do.
What? Secondary school?
The secondary school, that's GC now.
Man! What type of plane is this?
Yeah.
Yes, they pass it from home. Yes, great men do. It is fact, it is one of the virtues that you use to know great men.
Hey! How do we have this?
That they read from home.
Anyway, you know, it's a mockery of the democratic process, a mockery of the legal profession for somebody who is his son to make this sound about. Sometimes when Kayamo opens his mouth to speak, it's really troubling. I begin to wonder if this son is just a matter as people just pick from the dustbin. You understand what I'm saying? To tell Nigerians that Bola Ahmed Tinubu may not have had primary school certificate. GC did it from home, and great men don't have to go to school to have GC. I think it's a huge mockery, but that's why. So on the issue of the certificate matter, do you totally set that aside as a matter that may not matter before the majesty of the court, particularly when it's a requirement, and particularly when this certificate matter, you know, it is found now to be contradicting in very many ways. You understand what I'm saying? Now there's an establishment of, you know, one Bola A. Tinubu from Chicago University, where Bola Ahmed says he graduated from, but the records from that place, as alleged, is showing that the person who finished from that place is a female. It is not the same year that Tinubu claims he finished from there. It is so many disparities, you know what I'm saying now. And most of all, the record submitted by Tinubu to run for the governor of Lagos State, okay, is reported to be different from the one he submitted to this current InEC. And what's his name? OBI'S legal team already have had all of these, you know, evidences put together that they are using. Do you think that it will not matter at the end of the day?
Thank you so much, Comrade Lamte. I think in law and in evidence, everything really matters. But just before I answer that, I want to celebrate. I'm a big fan of Festus Keyamo. Not just a big fan, I've followed him for many years before now. Festus Keyamo is a truly bred Bende State boy, an Ekpoma trained lawyer. And Festus Keyamo was trained when Ekpoma was blazing the trail in the legal industry. So I must give it to him. It's one guy that I like. But the issue is, when you dive into the murky waters of politics, you begin to lose your marble. And especially when you know the truth and you deviate from the truth. You know, when a man is saying what is not right, you begin to know. And that person begin to say things differently. But Festus Keyamo...
Let's not paint it. This is what
I'm coming. Festus Keyamo...
integrity, honestly.
I know. I was coming there. Festus Keyamo made his name in Nigeria's system with the issue of Baba Frayo. And since then, he's been a man fighting for integrity and emancipation of human life. To see him start doing this now, you would understand that he's not saying the truth. And when you are not saying the truth, you begin to talk. I listened to the interview with Okimbaloye. Sometime at some point, you think you've become so powerful and you even talk the person interviewing you down. I think as we go down, if that become an issue, it will be an evidence that will be tendered. But if the legal team nails it first on with the issue of drug issue in US, then there will be no there will be no basis talking about this. And like you always say, Komilante, there are many magic that happen in our country. You'll be surprised that if the Labour Party rely heavily on those things that were submitted before, when we go back to InEC coffers, you might be surprised that you will see authentic ones. Those old ones that have been submitted might have been taken away. So there's a lot of magic that happens. But I think on the issue of candidacy, the LP legal team and Peter Obi has raised something very germane. The only hope that we have on that, with barring any mago, is the possible testification from the United States on that treasonable issue or drug issue that he suffered many years ago.
Okay, let's look at Abuja. The Constitution clearly states, though people are interpreting this differently, says that you must call at least 25% in 2/3 of the Nigerian states, including, or is it say and not really including and
the FCT
and the Federal Capital Territory, which is Abuja. Okay, now Bola Ahmed Tinubu clearly did not score 1/4 of the vote cast in Abuja. Now, if the states of Nigeria is to be separated by that, particular conjunction, and from Abuja, it therefore means that the prayer of Peter Obi to say that, INEC was wrong to have given Bola Ahmed Tinubu certificate of return may have some back. What do you say to that?
Absolutely, Comrade Lamte. I think before we go to the FCT issue, like I said, I have categorized these prayers in 3 categories. We've effectively dealt on one. The second one is mainly on the elections. And I think on the elections, the last one you want us to talk about, that which is FCT, is the last small prayer of the election matters. So let's put ourselves in the election category now. He is saying that based on that, there should be disqualification of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima on ground of irregularity. And on that irregularity, he has now penciled INEC, because what INEC promised, they didn't deliver. INEC promised that the elections voting will be transmitted into the IREV in real time. That has not been met. That alone is enough to call for a disqualification. So he has talked about that. So this election matters, Comrade Lamte. This is where Labour Party, we have to work very hard. There is a huge amount of work in this second category of prayers. So if we get our first prayer first, very correctly, which I think they did, there may be no need to even talk about irregularities anymore. Because we all know that the election was baited in irregularity. And the way our country is, we are in a difficult place. Labour Party, we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this irregularity affected their performance and made them not to win the elections. So it is an peculiar task. Between me and you, we all agree that there's huge evidence, but this has to be proven. And something very important I need to bring to our knowledge as well. Olisa Bakoba San, SAN, mentioned this 2 days ago in his interview. Peter Obi and the Labour Party, they are not fighting just APC and the president-elect. They are also fighting INEC, which will make it a bit very difficult. Not that it cannot be proven, because in Senate climes, what INEC is supposed to do is to bring all the documents and everything to say, this was what we used to conduct the election, fight your case. But in this situation, INEC is not going to do that, because INEC is also protecting themselves to say that they conducted a very good election. So the powers that INEC has is too much. Maybe going forward, you have to unbundle that. And that is where people that come to prove their case find it very difficult, because INEC is also fighting them. So INEC is saying, I did it all right. If it was in the Senate climb, INEC would just bring out that document, present it to the candidate, and we then use that to fight the irregularities and be able to push a case.
Talking of INEC, just to add this as an addendum, we are not deviating. I don't want you to deviate at all. You know that there's a subsisting, court order asking INEC to allow Peter Obi to look, to verify and make his case out of the I think we have a caller. Let's take this caller.
Yeah,
let's not forget this line of talk right now. It's very important. I also want us to. Hello. Good evening. You are on to the Comrade Show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from. My name is Philip Omenome.
Philip Omenome, go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, sir. Please, I'm listening to your broadcast right away. Yeah, but there's something I want to remind every one of us, the obedience and the lawyers ahead of the case, that this APC group, they have ability of claiming those votes that are void, the votes that the ballot paper that were missing, and they have the ability of claiming it. And that is how they have been winning every state, which you see that APC will be, maybe after they have lost all the whole unit, and on the court, they will win in the court, just like the situation of the Imo state. So we, as the obedient movement and the leader of the team, should know of this, that whenever they are in court as well, we should be able to it. It's our own, not their own at this time. Because they often hold to it. That was how they were able to win Imo State, claiming those votes. At the end, the court will say, okay, now, since you said it's not your own as a PDP, it's not your own as Abia, it's not your own as a Labour. Now, APC said that it is their own. Then, can't it? Then they will not add it to their number, the figures they have before. And at the end, they will grab it. Because like our principal are asking that they should cancel the election. APC will never ask to cancel the election. What they will do, they will begin to ask to have those votes. They will tell them that our votes were taken away. They scatter our ballot box. Those ballot boxes belong to us, not their own. They begin to claim those votes. While we are not claiming that, we are saying that they should cancel it. Then the judge will often say, now let's go and count those ones. After they have counted, that is when you see that they majorly win those states, including those states when Okoshomole enter. Those are the strategies they are using right from time. So at this moment, I think we need to overtake them in order for us to be able to be ahead of them in every angle.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What's your name again, sir?
Philip.
My name is Philip.
Philip, thank you very much, Philip, for your call. We'll take note of that. I'm sure that people are listening and they will observe all of these strands. So like I was asking, so I don't forget that line of talk. Talking about INEC, there's a subsisting court order asking INEC to allow Peter Obi's team to look into all materials used to conduct the election, and that matter has since met with hiccup. And understanding that you cannot just cancel a whole election if you cannot substantially prove that the anomalies in the election is enough to change the outcome of the election. I understand that out of about 9 targets, states by the Obi's team, INEC has only allowed them to verify, materials in about 2 states, which significantly is not enough. What do you think the Obi's legal team should be doing now that they are meeting with hiccup when it has to do with, verifying and reviewing INEC materials, that was used to conduct the election on 25th?
Thank you so much, Comrade Lamte. Just before I answer your question, I want to thank Philip Imonime for raising that very important point. I think that is one of the beauty of this BIVAS that has slightly answered some of the queries and worries of Philip and many other obedience, because that has been the strategy. But in this case, it's not just voided vote. Voided vote will have no effect if it's not been captured first as being in the BIVAS for that day. So I think we've also given them a very hard nut to crack on that. Yes, Comrade Lamte, I told you that it is in this election irregularity that Labour is going to meet stiff resistance. And the only way to overcome this will be by having very crack and core evidence. Like I said, INEC is also culpable. You see, I told you just now that INEC will want to defend themselves. And this is one of the ways to defend themselves, because the reason they gave was that they are still going to use it, the elections are not over. So I think it's more than 3 states that they allowed them to that they allowed them to check anyway. But the legal team was able to get enough evidence for them to prepare their case. I don't think they need to bring evidence from all the states. The core states, Rivers, those other big states with huge amount of a voting block will be very important. So I think they have enough. And as the case continue to progress, if there's any need to get more and they let the court know, INEC will have no option but to release it. It's just because the evidence that me and you have will not be enough. If not, in the court of public opinion, the evidence are ubiquitous. There are so many. Everybody has got them. So I don't think that will be enough. In the course of this discussion, there will be more compelling actions that we will put on INEC, and INEC will have no choice but to do it. But Comandante, remember something. When you go to the court and your evidence is shaking, sometimes you take one step that will even put you into more trouble. Everybody apart from the OB camp is in a difficult place, and how they respond would matter a lot. Just before we deviate, we've not finished about the election irregularity. You asked about FCT. So on that last step, FCT is the nut that we are cracking. We are cracking irregularity and disqualification. We are looking at INEC not following their guideline. The last one is FCT. It is clear. The Federal Capital Territory is not a state. It has never been considered such. So the makers and the framers of the Constitution had that in mind. The difficult word that our judges and our lordship will have to help us understand is the issue of and. A-N-D. So many lawyers across the line, sound very reverend lawyers, have different opinion about this. And this case will help us to test it. In my view, I am not a lawyer, but I think it's very clear. For you to be president, you need to win 25% of the resident vote in the Federal Capital Territory. And that has not been met by 2 of the 3 candidates. So on that ground, you would have expected that the INEC chairman would have waited a bit to find that and seek more clarification before giving the certificate of return. But of course, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was also in a very difficult pressure. I think all he wanted was just to hand in the certificate and take the problem away from himself. But this has not been tested. It's been brought to question now because there is no answer. For layman like me and you, it is clear. Before you become president, you need to win 25% of the FCT. And a few weeks before the election, Olisa Bakuba SAN wrote to INEC to ask for advice on what is the true picture of this. INEC has not written back, at least to our knowledge. And the former resident electoral officer, Mike Igini, also came on air to say that before you become president, it is stated clearly, he is a lawyer as well, that 25% of the vote cast in FCT must be won for you to be declared president-elect. So it's going to be a watershed moment. I think our jurisprudence will be tested as the proceedings begins.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you quickly. Let me just let Nigerians know, fellow Nigerians, particularly the obedience, we have reasons to be hopeful. One, these court processes have a timeline. There's a time frame. Everything must be concluded this year. You understand what I'm saying now? Even if it goes to the Supreme Court, there must be conclusion this year before the end of this year.
180 days.
Well, yes, that's one. The second aspect is this. On the issue of the BIVAS, I just got to know this. You know, they try to beat the BIVAS, but these electronic arrangements, they have a way of keeping certain information that somehow, you know, they just hide them somewhere in codes. And intelligent people who have, you know, very much, you know, serving in that department can always retrieve those information. Do you know, I've just been informed that as we speak, even the elections conducted in different states that have gone to court, many results are going to be overturned. Why? That on the day of election, when people accredit, they immediately vote. They accredit, they immediately vote. That before the ballots are counted, the number of accredited voters in each polling unit is first of all transmitted. That means everybody who participated in the election, okay, they are first of all transmitted before the voting count. And that transmission was always successful in almost all of the cases. Now, after vote count, they start manipulating the results. So in many of the polling units, the result they eventually manipulated will not tally with the actual number of people that voted, which in the first place can lead to disqualification, can prove, these cases beyond reasonable doubt. So, which means that if, the court eventually allow, independent review of the BIVAS, okay, for instance, there is a place in a particular polling unit in Edo State, okay, where, they have on record about 12,000 registered voters. The people that came out to accredit on election day were not up to 1,000. Okay? Now, I'm talking of the House of Assembly election, so that they just conducted now. Now, some people went to rig that particular unit in favor of PDP in Edo State. And they now apportioned votes according to the number of registered voters. And they now gave PDP, about 4,000 votes, which is way more above accredited number of voters. You understand the picture what I'm saying now? And all of that. And I understand that particular, local government and what they are going to court right now, the same thing equally replicated itself across the election when we talk about the presidential election. So I think there are so many small things here and there that appear to speak to hope, given the prayers of
absolutely. Comandante, in fact, let me just put a little spice into what you've said. You see, like somebody said, during the time of PDP, they allow you to vote, but your vote doesn't count. And in the side of APC, they don't allow you to vote at all. That explains what you are trying to say. You see, when the tsunami came during the presidential election, a case in point like Lagos, they were overwhelmed and taken aback. Just to support your statement. So the only way, that is why BIVAS is a revolution. And I think that is the only good thing that we follow Professor Mahmoud Yakubu as he exits InEC. I think BIVAS has changed the face. That was why it took them 2 weeks to come with a better plan. What way do we do this? Because like you said, anybody that is accredited is captured because they know the area. So the best thing they could have done, which was what every other state did, a follow-up for Lagos, was to prevent you from coming to vote. So in the simple pidgin English terms, person wey not there, they no go count in name now. So you didn't appear at all, you will not be counted. So what was that? How was that done? They weaken you in the stronghold of your opponent, so they don't actually have to come to vote. That's the strategy that BIVAS gave. And I think if the security people have done their job, that would have been controlled. So for the last 1 to 2 weeks between the space of the presidency and governorship election, these very important people, in quote, were thinking of the best way to approach this. So if you go back to those big areas, it was more voter suppression and prevention. A case in point, Lagos and Rivers. So that is the only way to control BIVAS. But these guys are always thinking, now we know we control it, they might come up with another thing. These are versatile guys, Comandante. They are better than me and you in IT. They know everything. And remember, people that work in there will also give them this information. But the only problem is, the Comandante, no matter how you paint any issue, truth can never become lies. And when you are lying, you need more lie. And in the course of lying, you get yourself into even more trouble.
Okay. Let's now go to the prayers of Mr. President. President, I already call him Mr. President. When I make mistakes like this, it's a revelation from the Spirit that something is cooking. Now, about OBI'S prayer. Obi has said in one of the prayers that he should be declared president-elect. That's a number of valid votes. Now, I've asked this before. Obi came third. Okay? I remember when Oshiomhole became governor. Oshiomhole did not win the election outrightly. It was won by Osumbo, Sarime Osumbo.
Professor Sarime Osumbo.
Professor Sarime Osumbo. Oshiomhole went to court. Now, that was the first time I heard of forensic analysis of the ballot papers. So they now brought in experts to now look at all the ballot papers that were used in the elections. And they used forensic evidence to now look at the ballot papers and saw multiple printing of ballot papers by, very few individuals. So every ballot paper that was printed by one person, okay, they were just subtracting them. They now removed all the ballot papers that had just, few individuals, printing on. After removing all of them, they now counted the remaining ones that were deemed legitimate. And that was what gave Adams Oshiomhole the victory, that he was pronounced the governor of Edo State after that particular process. So it's looking like Peter Obi is actually calling for the same thing, that they should subtract the votes accrued to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and count the rest, that he deemed as valid votes. And of course, they will discover that he has won the election. Now, in all of this, sir, in all of these prayers of Peter Gregory Obi and all of that, how do you harmonize his prayers right now in line with, what the court already first granted, that they should review InEC materials? How do you harmonize this and bring them together to make sense to the common man?
Thank you very much. I think Obi's prayer in hierarchy has already been harmonized. You cannot get harmony from InEC because InEC is somewhat copyable, but InEC will be compared to bring what they have. And just to look at the Edo State election of Adams Oshiomhole that you liken, I don't see any similarity. There will not be any forensic study anymore. This was what BIVAS have come to correct. Because those days, you have to accredit, so they can say they accredited S number of people. Part of the irregularity that resembles what happened in Edo State many years ago is what was not uploaded in the IREV. Remember, like it is said, the results that were counted, signed by the polling agent, those results were not the right result that was upgraded to the IREV. Some were cancelled, some were signed on top, some were T-Pexed. So that is going to be the forensic that Peter Gregory Obi and the Labour Party will have to present. I don't know if you watched an interview recently by the man that did the ANA poll, and he gave 5 exhibits where he showed you Labour Party had S number of votes. The one that was uploaded was now different. So those are the irregularities that has happened that we now need to look at. That is why APC have been shouting that how the Labour Party know when they didn't have enough polling agents in some other places. But Labour Party is saying that we depended and had an arrangement with PDP. Because they're asking that question. You don't have polling agents everywhere, just to counteract that. Remember, every polling agent, and including the control room of Labour Party, have all these results. Perhaps that's why they are very confident that they have their results, they have them signed, they've not been uploaded, and they want to juxtapose it with what already has been uploaded. I tell you, like in the North, Obi might not have won any state in the North, but it is likely that Obi got 25% of all the registered vote in a large chunk of the North. And if, for example, that is the only prayer that the court grants, when you put those votes together with what they gave him, there is a strong tendency that the total vote cast for him will be high enough for him to be declared as winner. So I think that is what is really relying on. So it will not be like the forensic one of Oshiomhole. There will be more evidence based on what was uploaded, because I believe they have it. And all they need to do is to look at strategic states, Lagos, Rivers, Kano, Kaduna, and those major areas. So I think they might have done a whole lot of work. But Komrelante, in law, it is very difficult to prove. So that's where the Labour Party need to work. I am hoping that we will not get to the second, third, and fourth prayer. That the first prayer will be enough to do it for me.
Thank you very, very much. Yes. Now, in the final analysis on the petition of Peter Obi to the tribunal, what do you think the outcome would be? I mean, dispassionately. Looking at the prayers, looking at the circumstances, looking at the issues, what do you think the outcome would be?
Thank you very much, Comrade Lamptey. Like you always say, our country is a magic. And with what Abakboba SAN said, if you put this evidence in the computer, you know the direction to go. But based on antecedents, especially the last two cases by the Supreme Court, it calls for a bit of worry. So first is to appeal to our justices and our lordship to do the right thing. Then it goes back again to the second question, because in law, there's always a delay. Although we have to do this within 6 months. Should the president-elect be sworn in? If the president-elect is sworn in, he becomes president. Me and you know that immediately after God, the next most important person is the president of Nigeria. So if that happened, from what we know and based on antecedents and our country, do you think the president will not have an overbearing effect on the lordship? That in a way would affect what the outcome would be because of the Nigerian magic. Then the second one, come May 29th, what are we expected to do? Should the system now wait until this is resolved before a president is sworn in? That is where the issue of interim government is coming forth. In my own simple view, for us to really see justice, both for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for Atiku Abubakar, for Labour Party, I would have thought that if the National Assembly is wise enough, but of course this will not happen, to say that let all actions be carried out and finished before May 29th, so that we know where we are going to. So if they do the judgment, everything is rushed, everything in our country is suspended, let that be done and the winner be declared and we have a proper swearing in. A situation where the case is still in court, whether for Peter Obi or for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be president, is going to be slightly very difficult. But this has not happened before. And I think APC will be pushing for the swearing in to be done while the case is going on, because by then they will have upper hand. Nobody knows what will happen. So we are in a very difficult situation. It's easy for state governors to be removed and put back, but it's not easy for a sitting president to be removed in a country called Nigeria, where this has never happened before. So we really find ourselves.
I think there are countries recently in Africa where it
not Nigeria. Nigeria is a magic. Don't compare other countries with Nigeria.
Well, can't we believe that?
It's going to be because of the sentiments that we have, and we don't have an history. We have an history of what we know. It's going to be a very big challenge. I would have thought, in my view, if my view is considered, let Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, and Tinubu come together and have an agreement. Because this is a big issue, I want to say, let us talk to the judges and all. Let us come together and agree that this case should be finished before May 29th. Because if it's not finished before May 29th, we are going to be in a very difficult situation.
We have a caller. Let's call. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Good evening. You are on to the Comrade Show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening, sir. Okundaye Obahiabo is my name, and I'm calling from Holland.
Go ahead, Mr. Okundaye.
Yes, Domo, sir. I just want, to hear, or rather, yes, to know your take, or you guys take on this issue of, probably you guys have dealt with this issue, before my calling, because I'm just home now, and I'm just tuning in. And I don't know if I have to call it a question or just a comment, and that has to do with what you guys take actually is on this issue of, Section 134 of Nigerian Constitution, and if you juxtapose it with, Section 299, what it says and what are the chances of Peter Obi, yes, the chances of Peter Obi being able to claim back his victory.
Can you spell out the two sections? Is it the one on Abuja, and of course the second one that says that Abuja can equally be referred to as a state?
Exactly. The section that says and the federal capital, because constitutionally, none of us are lawyers. I have listened to both sides of this argument. Some are saying in section 134, what he's saying is including Abuja, but some are saying that no, with the and there, it only means you also have to win 25% of the federal capital territory. But when you go back to section 229, it says something very different, and that is some will equally argue it, the way they fit. But my own interpretation as a layman, again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not claiming or supposing to be one. If you look at that part of that constitution, it says as if it is a state. Because that is what they are now using this section 299 to say that, it includes Abuja of the 25% of the states. But if you read that part of the constitution very well, it says as if. As if simply means it is not. When something is not, you say as if it is. That is what section 299 says. So again, it is very, very,
it's dicey.
It isn't clear, but I don't know what you guys think, is on these two parts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okundaye. This is my own take on this matter. My take is very clear. First and foremost, we actually don't need lawyers to diagnose this. We need proper grammarians to diagnose this. Even lawyers, we need to ask grammarians, you understand what I'm saying now, to diagnose this. If the constitution has said including Abuja, this one would have been no problem at all. But the constitution said, and this is my phone, and my pen, and my notebook. Okay, they are not the same. They are separate parts. The and there as a conjunction already separates both of them. Of course, there's another clause in the constitution that says that Abuja will be treated in some situations will be treated as if it's a state. You understand what I'm saying now? Which again you have answered that if Abuja is a state, the constitution would have clearly stated that. You understand what I'm saying now? So it says, I think it's very arguable to say that these are two component parts. You understand? But again, on a very simplistic note, I kind of wonder why the people who wrote or amended our constitution will actually have a clause like this. To be very fair, it's not because of OBI'S interest right now. You understand the picture of what I'm saying now? Why didn't we just have a straight statement to say the 36 states of the country, including Abuja? You understand the picture of what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, there are Nigerians living in Abuja. Just make it 25% across everywhere, including Abuja. So now 75% in 36 states and Abuja, gets everyone really confused. So it's going to take a part of the argument of the lawyers really to put this through. You understand? And they need to consult proper grammarians to give proper definitions to these things. But it's really, really making it come. And I think that I would hope that after this case is concluded, the Constitution of Nigeria need to properly be amended, so that all of these ambiguities and wahala will not just be left there, because this may eventually repeat itself, and it is not nice. We should have a straightforward thing. I don't know what you think, sir, a pharmacist.
Yeah, absolutely. I must thank Okundaye Ogbayagbon for that wonderful question. I think, barring emotion, Komilante is very clear. I think the not supporting them because I'm not a fan of the 1999 Constitution. But I think in doing that, it was when the headquarters was moved from Lagos to FCT. So FCT is being seen as a microcosm of the entire Nigeria. So it's expected that if you want to rule our country in a place where you have everybody, it's good to have 25%. It's just unfortunate that on this occasion, with the brutality of the Abuja populace and electorate, they never gave any credence to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Atiku, because previously almost everybody have won 25%, even the minutest of all leaders that wants to lead us. So it has never been tested. But with the hand there, is very clear. And I also think that's why he said that you must get 25% in 22 states and Abuja, because Abuja was never considered a state. But let the lawyers
22 or 24.
24. Let the lawyers do their job and let us know. But on that basis, Obi has got a very strong case, because as it stands now, the man has not got 25%.
And apart from that, Mr. Okundaye, apart from that, this is not the only prayer of Peter Obi. Obi has 5 prayers. One of them, the first one, is to say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not qualify to contest the election. If he's able to prove that case right, we may not even bother about this Abuja matter. It means that Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all the votes he got, they will be null and void. You understand what I'm saying? When they are null and void, it therefore means that the president of Nigeria will not be determined on the remaining valid votes, which, likely will tip Obi over the line. You understand the picture from what I'm saying now? Now, apart from that, he's qualified said that even if the court agrees that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is qualified to contest the election, and that he should be declared president based on other reasons on the ground, including the evidences that they are putting together right now against InEC that did not follow guidelines. Because the issue of the guidelines, we cannot overemphasize that enough. The reason is because if you say, okay, that you are going to transmit results from the polling units, that may have encouraged many Nigerians to come out and vote. Now, if you did not do that, then you have betrayed the terms of agreement. And if the terms of agreement are betrayed, it therefore means that the election should be cancelled, because people came out to observe the terms of agreement. What Nigerians have done is to fulfill their own part of the agreement. What INEC has done is to fail in her own part of the agreement. They failed in the presidential, they failed even in the state assembly elections and the governorship elections. So at the end of the day, there's a serious case with INEC guidelines based on the electoral laws and, of course, the 1999 Constitution as amended. So, and that is a matter too that is very strong. So, the disqualification of, the qualification of Bola Tinubu is on one side. The INEC guidelines not being followed, it's on one side. I know that INEC won one case earlier where the court says that INEC has the power to formulate guidelines for elections, which is very true. If INEC has got the power to formulate guidelines for election, if those guidelines are not followed, then INEC is culpable. And I think that in all of these, I honestly think that the election probably need to be cancelled and let there be a rerun. That one is sacrosanct. That one cannot, there's nothing anybody can say about that one. You understand what I'm saying now? So we'll see what happens in the other prayers. I don't know if you have anything to say, sir, in addition to these.
Yeah, I think we've looked at it very well. The cancellation is very clear. Cancellation will be a good option, but I can tell you that many people will not want it. Well, what is the rationale, Comrade Lamte, that if we spend another 3 trillion naira, we'll still not have something similar when the infrastructure, the right stuff has not been put in place? I think after now, whoever president that comes in, INEC restructuring and unbundling should be seriously considered. On election day, INEC is doing so much, which is not supposed to do, to be frank. So we really need to consider making INEC very fit for purpose. starting from his appointment of the chairman and board of members.
Oh yeah, I think that is a big case already.
Yeah, we have to consider a lot of stuff, because before now we don't know anybody. It's on that note that I want to congratulate the first and only Labour Party governorship candidate or governor-elect standing. No other but a man I love so much, Alex Oti of Abia State. And now the resident electoral commissioner from Abia State stood tall in the face of pressure from far and wide to announce the result, even when they were trying to make some denial from, I think it's I've forgotten the place now where they were expecting the result. But congratulations to Alex Oti for giving Labour Party a very good showing, and then for making Labour Party, even in the face of this irregularity, to have a governor-elect from Abia State. I think barring no problems and encumbrances, Peter Gregory Obi has a better case that he has presented to the commission. So hopefully we'll see what comes out. We can't prejudge.
Thank you very much. Well, Nigerians, we've been looking at the mandate, Peter Obi's petition, the prayers, and of course the chances. It's an ongoing discourse, I can tell you. The matter is open-ended. We're going to be looking at this, from time to time. And as soon as we have more details, particularly from the court proceedings and every other thing, we'll be here to, analyze them. There's another event that happened that we're going to talk about briefly recently. I know that we all know, Senator Ikorimando, who has been battling, a case in London, and he's just recently been convicted alongside his wife and the doctor, who was trying to facilitate the organ harvesting arrangements. For those who may not know, Senator Ikorimando's daughter had kidney issues, and they made an arrangement with somebody to go and harvest that person's kidney, so that they can have a kidney transplant. And the thing backfired somehow, and the UK government took it up, seriously, and he's since been in court. But we just recently heard that he's been convicted. I think a date has been set aside for his sentencing. That is one news that has, taking the world by storm. It's everywhere. It's a global news, as it were. Pharmacist, Ikorimando convicted.
Yeah, thank you so much, Comrade Lamte. This is one news that I don't really like to comment upon, but because of the personality of the persons involved and the family involved and our country, and it has gained international traction, it's become necessary to make comments on it. Health is a gift from God. At any point in time, myself, yourself, or any other person will fall ill or have different problems. I think it's just the way this has been handled. And I want to look at it from three perspectives. First, I want to be in the same position with Ikorimando to say that I feel for them. As a medical person myself, I know what they are going through, but it has happened, and lessons need to be learned. First, on the most important thing is that because as Nigerians, rich people, we like to do things in a very wrong way. I think Ikorimando has got enough money to have pursued this properly and done it properly. Kidney transplant is now done in Nigeria, and even if you want to go abroad, you follow the right process to do it. But of course, big men in Nigeria will always do it the way they like. And unfortunately, it's done this outside the shore of Nigeria, and that has come to become a huge problems. On the flip side, you also say that Ikorimando has been in government for almost 20 years, starting from being a personal assistant to a governor in Enugu State, and that's how he built his political career. I did mention that before now it was reported that Ikorimando has got about 9 houses in Dubai, 6 or thereabout, or 3 or thereabout in the United States, 3 in the United Kingdom, a whole lot in Lagos, and many more in his home state. One would have asked, all this money that you've amassed for all this, if one, whilst he was the legislature, was used to build a befitting hospital in Nigeria where we do all this, at least the daughter would have been one of the beneficiaries. So there's a huge lessons to be learned. And the last one is to say that in a country where things work, issues are dealt quickly and they are resolved. If it's in Nigeria, probably we'll still be waiting, nothing would have happened. How are the mighty falling? A old DSP, Deputy Senate President of the great country of Nigeria, is now be found guilty and will be sentenced next month. We don't know, next 2 months, I think it's in May. We don't know how lengthy this will be, but even if it's 1 hour, it's a dent on our country. It's sort of traumatic situation for the Ikorimando family and for everybody associated with them. I really feel so bad. And I pray that our government, our politicians will take a clue from this to know that development of our local content and our country is very important.
But thank you very much, pharmacist. To be fair, to be honest, the only person I feel for is that young girl, the daughter. I don't feel sorry for Ikorimando at all. I think that every Nigerian politician that is, doing the same thing, not just, even if it has nothing to do with organ harvesting, taking our collective patrimony to go and blaze the trail abroad, they should all, fall into a trap like this or worse than this. You understand what I'm saying? Because, like you said, and that's the strong point I'm taking. This guy has been in government for a long time. He never stood as the people's man, even as a legislator. He never stood as the people's man. He never stood as the people's defender. If these people had fought in the Senate for us to have proper medical, a healthcare system in Nigeria over the years, if they have fought very hard and transparently, righteously, and we have proper medical system in Nigeria, who will be talking of people going through this kind of hassles to get these things done? You understand? So I think that somehow karma is catching up with them. Whatever is happening right now, I am sure that the daughter who needs this kidney transplant, the UK government will look after her. They will eventually treat her. They will not let her go. They will go through the normal process to give her proper kidney transplant. But for all of these shenanigans, I think that it is probably the right response for not just Ikorimando, for all the wicked politicians that have kept us, here. We are discussing Nigeria right now. It's not because of Ikorimando and his likes. They are the ones making us discuss Nigeria right now. As we speak right now, the so-called man, the named as President-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has reportedly left Nigeria. You understand what I'm saying? Now to come and look after himself in the UK. You understand the picture from saying? Somebody even whispered to my ears that, they already tried to do some stem cell, arrangement to renew the man's cell, just like Buhari did, and all of that. All of this happening in the UK with Nigeria's money. These people, some of them don't have business address. They have never worked in that country before. They became who they are, by just venturing into politics. And they've led that tradition. People who normally should have no business with politics, they are all trooping into politics, contesting elections, you understand, for only one reason, to make sure that they take part, and benefit from our collective patrimony. At whose expense? All of us. No roads, no hospitals, no water, insecurity everywhere. Look at it. Even now today in the country, people cannot even access the money they've fought hard to make and put in the bank. To collect their money, they are paying to buy their money back. This is a system created by the Ikorimandos, by the Buharis, by the Bola Tinubus, by all of these people. They are the ones making us do all this stuff. So I feel no pity whatsoever. I think honestly that the sentences should be the highest ever on top of the matter. So that, every one of them, as we speak, some of them will die tomorrow. Some of the monies they have stashed away abroad will never be located. It will go with the foreign, banks. They did the foreign currency change. People are bringing millions and trillions out of their bedrooms, out of their sockets. Some have even gone rotting. Why the ordinary Nigerian is suffering? People cannot afford anything because these monies have been stashed away by some people. So, my brother, when you look at it, it's unfortunate it's only Ikorimando that's in this situation right now. I think that more politicians of Nigerian extraction should be in some similar situation right now, facing sentencing abroad, since we cannot deal with them at home. That's my take, my brother. But for that girl, I hope that the UK government will be smart enough to, put that girl, put her on queue to receive a kidney transplant the proper way it is done in the UK. That will be my take. I'm really, really pissed because Nigerians, please forgive me. I am angry because if you are in Nigeria, it may look normal, but you don't know how much embarrassment the Ikorimando news is bringing us on a daily basis. How much embarrassment. The election itself, my brother, on a day I was in the office at work, I just tuned the television to CNN. They were doing a review of the Nigerian election. In fact, my colleagues in the office, 3 women, were asking me, Lamte, what's happening in your country? Because they don't understand. It doesn't happen in the UK. They were never born to understand a thing like that. I couldn't even explain. But I was so ashamed of myself. Now, they must have, they never asked me about the Ikorimando, but they must have heard. It's on Sky News, on BBC, and everywhere. You understand the picture from I'm saying now? It's a Nigerian. They will just talk about Nigerian. And I'm a Nigerian, originally Nigerian.
A proud Nigerian.
But who knows? That one now is subject to another discussion, my brother. How can you be proud? The only thing that makes me proud now in Nigeria is when I see Osimhen scoring 24 goals in 28 appearances. That makes me proud. Not this political misdemeanor that we are seeing every day. So there are certain things that make us proud as Nigerians. You understand what I'm saying now? Politics just take over everything to make us ashamed. Sometimes you want to step up. There's one young man who discusses politics a lot. He's a British guy in my place of work. You understand what I'm saying now? He's not been to work and he's been off. I think he's going to be on tonight. You understand? I know say this Ikorimando matter go bring her come. Make it not go bring her come from where the rest people dey. You understand what I'm saying?
You face another bout of embarrassment.
So much shame and embarrassment. You understand? People at home may not understand this. This is what we go through daily in this country. So Ikorimando, as far as I'm concerned, it should receive the maximum penalty that somebody who commits offense like this should receive. And all Nigerian politicians, one way or the other, for whatever they are doing, I hope that the foreign, all these countries abroad will just start training them to help us treat their fuck up.
But conversely, on the other side, it may just serve as a lesson so that our politicians will start investing back home and not abroad.
My brother, they won't learn. They won't learn.
Let's hope they will.
Will they learn? If they even leave this Ikorimando tomorrow, that's a bad thing again. This Ikorimando right now, okay? By the time he finished serving his sentencing, he will go back home and be a don. He may even become the next president of Nigeria. This same Ikorimando we are looking at right now.
But somebody has also...
Sorry, look at Ibori. Not too long ago, over 100 million naira of Iboli's loot was returned to Nigeria. Iboli today is a kingmaker in Delta State. Everybody is trooping around Ibori. This is a convicted criminal. Convicted. And the crime he committed is not even against the UK, it's against the Nigerian government. And yet he's back home right now. He's a lord, a kingmaker. So
unfortunately, the candidate he backed did not get the ticket in PDP. So that's all right. So it's a political.
But he's a kingmaker. Everybody troops around him.
Yeah, his political powers is still being weakened. Somebody has also said that Nigeria as a country did happen to Ikorimando because one would have expected that the federal government would support and sort of lobby the UK government on this issue, but none was done. So it's good that Nigeria has happened to him after many years of enjoyment. Since Nigeria happened to everybody every day with no lights, no road, no cash and everything. So thank you so much, Comrade.
Thank you, my brother. Anyway, Nigerians, let me not get ahead of myself. My people, it's been a comrade show. We just try to make sense of these situations. We are Nigerians. We remain so. We forever will be. It doesn't matter. Like I always say, it doesn't matter, what nationalities we have, people who live abroad, particularly for Nigerians in diaspora. We must always try to defend the home front, contribute as much as we can, to make it better. A better Nigeria is not just good for Nigerians at home, it's best for Nigerians living abroad, because as we speak, there are so many Nigerians who are living abroad who are looking to retire and come back home and settle and probably even invest, as much as well, make the economy better. But if Nigeria is not good enough, overtly and covertly, it's affecting all of us. And that's why we are keen to, continue to contribute our own quota. Yes, the mandate, it's still on. The hope is there. The case that is being built by the obedient team, I want to assure you, it's a strong case. Of course, we know the antics of the Nigerian state, but there's the hope that this one will be different because the evidences appear to be very overwhelming, and we believe very strongly that Peter Obi will get his mandate, and it will be the Nigerian mandate, and hopefully all of these happenings around the country will start changing. Comrade Pharmacist Iremira, let me thank you for taking time out to be part of this program. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Comrade Lanti. It's always a pleasure to be in your company and my kind, lovely followers, all obedient out there, and indeed Nigerians. Have a very pleasant day and a pleasant week ahead.
So thank you very much, Nigeria. God bless you all, bless all of you. And for our followers and fans, I know some of you may be wondering where's Dr. Agbons. Let me quickly let us know that Dr. Agbons in recent time has had some of his activities, work activities, slated for Sunday, which means that some of his work activities is interfering with his appearance on this program. And so occasionally when he's less busy, he will be joining us, but it may not be as frequent as he used to be, because at the end of the day, even while we do all this that we do right now, we must create space for nothing to interfere with our work. And so that's exactly what is happening right now. So he's not been with us now for a couple of weeks, because the schedule right now, has changed in this academic section. And so, but he's working around it. Hopefully, he may still get, Sunday free enough to, make more, appearances as he used to. But in the meantime, we are holding brief for him, and hopefully, when things settle, he will be more regular on the platform. But as things goes, he's still the same spirit, the comrade and friends. And of course, we are carrying on his behalf for now. So, Nigerians, God bless you for taking time to join us. It is the Comrade Show, it's the Comrade and Friends. I'll see you when I see you. My name is Comrade Lanti Monsa Oriahi, signing out.
Comrade Show, wait. Comrade Lanti Oriahi. This is the